The history of macroeconomic thought is incredibly important for understanding the state of modern macroeconomics, but such a study is also subject to some serious pitfalls. Whenever studying the history of thought, it's usually easiest for pedagogical purposes to focus on various schools of thought. That's how I'll be approaching many of the upcoming videos. But reality is more complicated than what's easiest to explain. Even within broad schools of thought, there's a wide variety of opinions, disagreements, and theories. You could debate with the people I lump together. In fact, I debated myself how to handle them. Especially the farther back we go, the longer across time we try and stretch, labels get murky. Likewise, it gets even harder when we're looking for perspectives on topics that only later become the focus of debates. Sometimes thinkers aren't entirely clear, so when we go back to search for their answers then to our questions today, we end up reconstructing a perspective that never really existed. The history of thought is incredibly useful. It's remarkable how many of the macro debates of the 19th century were more or less forgotten and then entirely repeated again in the 20th century. For this reason, for instance, studying past debates is helpful to get a lay of the land and avoid relitigating the past, focusing instead on trying to develop further theory. At the same time, some knowledge has advanced. Some circumstances, institutions, and policies have changed. And that then changes the underlying incentive structure. As Robert Lucas reminds us, this can change the actual relationships between variables. Now, it seems obvious to us today, but it clearly was not at the time, that a government that seeks to persuade businesses to maintain high prices and later mandated wage and price floors, that is minimum prices, on all major sectors of the economy, would prevent the market from clearing and the price system from working. But just because the market doesn't clear under these conditions created by government officials in the 1930s, for instance, doesn't mean that we can now throw out the literature on market clearing. So a final important question to keep in mind. Sometimes theories are mistaken entirely, but more often they hold some grains of truth, especially dependent upon the circumstances and institutional structure. The question to ask is what assumptions are being made? That is, when is this theory a description of reality? And under what conditions might it not hold? Why? If it seems wrong entirely, what real circumstances and empirical findings would have led such thinkers to believe that this matched reality? What assumptions then were incorrect or misguided? Learning about the history of thought is not a thoughtless exercise. So be prepared to think, ponder, and question as we explore macroeconomics over the last half of the millennia